welcome back to Leah's Adventures, or Leah's Lifestyle, depending on if you're here on YouTube or on Twitch with me. Either way, we are doing a little bit of research here. We're going to watch a few videos that connect with the book that we're reading, rule number 1. They have a YouTube online that you can go check out, and that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to watch the first couple of most popular videos today. Then we're going to research some treasury bonds and research Benjamin Graham and David Dodd. Let's get into it. Which video should we start with here? There's a 9-minute, 7-minute, 9-minute. How many videos should we do? Well, we'll do the first 2 most popular, and that way I can kind of keep track that way. So here's the very first popular one. It is 6 money traps to avoid in your 30s. This is perfect on topic for us. Okay. Alright. And then I will link down, once this is fully posted, this video. So you guys can go find it on YouTube if you like.
Lemonade, we're changing insurance, starting with clearly
Floop you,
explaining
Lemonade.
how it works. Our renters
Hey guys, I'm Phil Town from Rule 1 Investing. Today, I want to tell you something about money traps that you should avoid in your 30s.
Sounds good. Let's not get these money traps. Who wants money traps anyways? No money traps. No money traps. No money traps. Okay. I'm gonna make another list.
So getting the middle adult.
This list is going to be like important notes that I feel like are necessary from YouTube videos. So I'm just going to say YouTube notes. And then I'm just going to write down anything that I think is necessary to my life and that I need to use. I encourage you to do the same for yourself, but I will speak out also anything that I write down, of course. Sí, mucha ayuda, por favor. Like, any help, any ayuda would be. I'm trying, you know? I can read decently in Spanish. Leer. ¿Tú es leer en español? Más o menos. Hablar. No bueno. Madrid. Yeah, that's another one. I knew there's more. I was like, I know there's like a bunch of places that speak like dialects of Spanish and they're different, but they're the same, but they're different, you know? Like, I know there's so many of them. There's so many. Okay. Are we ready to get in this video? Let's get in it. Wait, Sam, that's you. You said that. You sneaky. You're such a troll. I'm joking. You're not. Sam, have you asked out that girl? You think I forgot? I hope you didn't think I forgot. I will never forget about you asking out your girl. You have a crush, you have to ask her out. That's how it works, man. You gotta take every chance you got. Oh man, this tea's getting better and better as it's cooling down. Okay, let's listen to this baby. Is the music too much? Is it too much to have music in the background while we listen to this video? Okay, well, no, I don't have 300 followers yet, but I still think you should ask her out. I'm gonna stand behind it. And anyone who's watching this should now feel terrible for not following me to make Sam ask out a beautiful lady. I am never gonna forget, man. I believe in love, okay? It will survive. One day you're gonna be married and you're gonna be like, oh, thank God Leah helped me. I'm joking. But I do hope you're happy in your life. Okay, let's watch this video.
It's
Not people coming in, probably checking it out to see what I'm talking about when it comes to investing, and then me just going off about how Sam needs a girlfriend. I'm sorry, Sam. Oof. That's a rough one, because that's like, thinking she has a BF, that lowers, like, even if you think she has a BF, right? And you go in feeling like she has a BF, you might talk to her like she has a BF, and therefore she might not see you as an interest. And so, like, you gotta be extremely confident. You need to know. You need someone to find out if she has a girlfriend for you, okay? We gotta do some sleuthing here. Sleuthing. We gotta do some sleuthing here. Sleuthing. Like sneaky sleuthing? Isn't sleuthing already? Let's go back to investing. That's what I'm good at, okay? I like to pretend I can love match. I'm not a love matcher. I'm sorry, Sam, but I will do my best, okay? I'll get at least 300 followers to try and force you to ask her out at least. This is about taking risks. This is taking... Muy caliente? Oh my gosh. Okay, this is about taking educated risks, man. We gotta find out if she has a boyfriend, because we need to make sure that the risk you're taking is likely on your side of winning, okay? That's what we gotta do. That's the goal here, alright? That's how we're gonna start thinking about this. Educated risks. Educated risks. That's what we're doing, alright? Muy caliente? You have now become another friend of mine. Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate you. This is how we do it, fam. Okay?
really a major shift in priorities that happens right there. Once you stop needing to count the days to your next paycheck, you start to make a little more money. It's time to start really planning out your financial future. Really easy to avoid doing this because you've never had to do it before in your life, because what was the point, right? You're eating, hand to mouth. But now, not so
No,
much hand to
seriously.
mouth. There are so many things that get in the way of doing that, and you may not even realize it. So let's talk about some of these. Now that you have like a better income, right? Don't let social obligations strip it away. There are 6 money traps that you should avoid at all costs. And I know all of them firsthand. First, buying a car that's out of your price range. I'm telling you, the first time I made...
Okay, I'm just gonna start by taking notes. I'm writing down 6 money traps because I want to remember the 6, and the first one, buy a car out of your range. I already know that one. I've been following that one my entire life because I've watched that my entire life. Is everyone buying cars that are way, way out of their prices range, and they're like, well, you see, I don't have to fully pay it off because I'm gonna trade it in 3 years for a new car. So you permanently just are always gonna have a fucking car payment? Why? Or leasing? I have never understood leasing. Why? Okay, but yeah, 6 money traps. Number 1, don't buy a car out of your price range. I'm glad you guys can have a laugh.
money, right? When I started investing, and I had a good year. I bring in a bunch of money. I think I made $83,000.
You want to buy a car?
I went straight out and bought a Jag. I mean, come on. I've been in
What?
wagons.
I know so many guys, so that's the first thing they do when they get some money. They're like, yeah, I bought this car. Every guy I know, he's like, yeah, after I got this job, I got this car. And I'm like, yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. I know why. I know why guys do that. I see you. I see you. I see the multiple reasons, but I see you. You decided not to drive. That is a mistake. I think driving is so much fun. I love driving. Okay, fair. You know what? Those are great reasons to choose not to. You need the money, and health is important. Those two things, if they, I get it. I get it. It's not for everyone. It's not. But me, I wanted to be a race car driver when I was young. I pretended to be a race car driver. And now I'm really good at driving. Like a race car driver on the street. I'm getting better at not doing that, but that doesn't change the fact that I did it for a long time. Okay. People were scared to get in the car with me. Oh, what? Why? Why would they do that to you? Yeah, it should be your choice. If you have the money for it, and you want to do it, and it would make your life easier, and you feel like you can afford it, I'm just saying, if you're traveling 2 hours to go to work every day on the bus or something, and it's within your budget to be able to have a driving vehicle, whether it's a moped, a motorcycle, a car, a truck, whatever, like you should figure that out, you know? Don't let other people control you, as I'm trying to control you. I'm sorry. Okay.
Harleys. I bought a Jag. Man, I sat in that car. It felt so good. I felt so cool. I'm driving around. Everybody obviously admired me for my fancy car. And that lasted about 2 weeks. And then I figured out, nobody really cares at all. So don't buy a fancy car to impress people you don't like or don't know just because you can. People don't care. You know, you need transportation. But there's so much variability in price that you have to spend wisely. So new cars can be one of the biggest money pits a person can get stuck in. Look, I like to buy new cars. I lease nice cars. Fair enough. But I'm also,
he's making a very distinct note here too. He's saying new cars. So I'm going to make that note underneath one. Don't buy a car out of your price range. I'm going to say especially new cars. I'm taking these notes for myself and for future stuff, so just so you guys know. Like, that's why I'm taking them the way I am, and sharing them.
Healthy. So don't do that when you're back in your 30s and you want to build up financial freedom. It's just going to be something that gets in the way. A car fresh from the manufacturer loses about 30% of your value of that car in the first year, and half of it by the end of 3 years. And it's still a good car.
I'm going to put another one. I'm going to say loses value 30% in a year, half. No, in 3 months. 30% in 3 months, and half in a year. Loses. I need to check those. I need to check that information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to off farther away, but still like clearly for that one, leave like a little check box here, and that's just to tell me that I need to look into this information.
If you buy a really solid vehicle that's a few years old, 3 maybe, at about half price, and you keep it in good condition, you're going to have a much lower payment, right? And by the way, no one cares what car you're driving. I mean, go buy a 3-year-old. You want a fancy car? Go buy a 3-year-old.
I think this is something interesting here, that he's repeating that no one cares, and that's not completely true. I don't completely believe in this. I think he's being a little... He's being a little bit more of... how do I say this? He's like, he's outside of the social box. He's already very successful. He's already been married and had kids. He's already done a lot of social things you need to do before he got into his older time in life. With that, like, you know, this is like, what, years old now, right? 5 years old. So even within this time frame, like, things have changed quite a bit. And in my opinion, based on what I've experienced in this world, people do care to a point. Right? Like, he's even making the distinction of, like, not getting a new car, but, like, specifically getting a car that's a few years old, that is still, like, working and functioning. And I just want to say that I think most people buy cars not expecting to have them functioning after 3 to 5 years. Especially where I'm at in the world. I don't think people see cars as like a longevity thing anymore. I think the way people perceive cars and like how they are is like easy access, and like it's easy to get one, and you just get a loan if you can't afford one. And like they're very disposable these days. Like, I don't think people think about maintenance with their vehicles, and then therefore don't really do maintenance on their vehicles consistently or well. And I don't know if it matters either, if you do that, like the maintenance, because unless you know what you're doing with the car, and can fix it yourself, like, having a mechanic do any major maintenance to your vehicle costs quite a bit, and typically outdoes the price in which the car is worth and you would get for it during that time. So they're like, I think people like see them as money pits anyways. You just throw money in it to have it. So I don't know if nowadays, like, a car that's 5 or 3 years old from like around when he made this video, somebody who had it then probably has destroyed the car to the point in which that, like, it's going to be even more of a money pit. Because what he's trying to say here is you need to save money. You need to find a vehicle in which that you're not going to be continuously putting funds into, like a loan. But also, on the opposite end, you need to be smart enough not to be able to find a vehicle that's not going to have problems, that's older, even if it's 3 or 5 years old, where you're continuously getting it in because now it's hit all the moments where, like, oh, it needs this major thing replaced. Like, for my car is 10 years old, and it needs the shifter replaced and probably the transmission now. It's 10 years old. It's been well, like, used. I used it for traveling long distances from mid-country to coast multiple times, up and down the coast a few times. It was my daily traveler. I took it in and got, like, maintenance every time it needed. Oil change, it got a full fluid flush. Brakes and tires and balancing continuously, like, whenever it was needed. And I never had problems with it until this last, like, the 10-year mark, and then, like, some big things happened, which makes sense. But, like, most people aren't holding onto their cars as long as I did. I paid off my car in 5 years and had 5 years worth of not paying any, like, car bills, besides insurance and, like, the maintenance. So that's what he's saying you need to get to. You need to get to a spot where you are, the vehicle in which that you are paying for minimally. That is the point in which I think he's trying to get across, that I'm not really sure he managed to communicate well to every type of person who would be listening to this. Because I think for some people it kind of just, like, clicks, and they're like, oh yeah, like, that's what he's trying to say. But for some people, I think what they get out of this is, like, don't buy a new car. well, if buying a new car is going to be your cheapest from wherever you're at area, that's going to give you the least amount of bills, and it's going to be the safest, then that's probably what you need to do. Do it within your price range, is again what I believe he's saying here, is like make sure that you're buying a car that's in your price range. That's not something that you're gonna have to sell to be able to not go, like, not be screwed over for. Yeah. Wow. Dang, that's crazy. You moved to New York? That's cool as fuck. How was New York? I'm sorry you were sick, though. I'm glad that you're better. That's the part that's most important, is that you're doing better now, you know? Okay, let's watch this video.
GL 450, it'd be about half of what the car was new, which was about $81,000. You can buy them for $40,000, and they're still as good as the day they got them. But usually those people are taking great care of them, and now you're riding around in a GL 450. You want to know what else?
It depends. I really don't think every person's going to be taking care of their cars really well the first 3 or 5 years if they don't perceive it as a car in which they were going to maintain for a long time.
It looks exactly like a 2018 GL 450. So learning to protect and enjoy what we already have will make it a lot easier to set aside more income for investing. Second, find a home that's too expensive for you. Been there, done that. Owning a home that increases in value is a really good practical expense, but there's a point of diminishing returns. When you are funneling every dime you have into a mortgage on a home that you can't really afford, then you have no money left for emergencies.
Even outside of this, I think like a big thing, one that I've recently been shared with that I really agree with, outside of buying a home that's out of your price range, I just don't think you should be buying a home for yourself right away, because like he said, you're going to be paying into that mortgage and you can't get out of it. You're not going to be able to go and rent a cheaper place to save some pennies. But what I've heard the best thing to do is, if you want like a family home, is to kind of section off the areas and rent out like the rooms, either Airbnb or like long-term livers, until the mortgage is paid off, because then other people are paying for that mortgage that you otherwise would have, and then you have your home there too. Oh, you stretch, huh? Is that another stretch? You should have been here last night, because I saw it and it's been so long that my brain said and then Muy Caliente was like, we gotta eat instead of a stretch. Oh, fuck. That's okay. I'm gonna keep stretching, but I'm gonna keep playing this video so we can finish it.
You have no money left for investing. You got no money left, period. And the strain on you, your marriage, everything can be brutal. A monthly payment that you can barely manage can place an enormous weight on your budget for 30 years on average. Instead, it might be a better idea to keep an eye on a local market and buy when you can get a home in a good neighborhood for a moderate price that you can handle. Okay? In other words, put some time into really looking for a Rule 1 bargain on a house. People get into trouble financially, right? The people who just can't afford that really nice house, they might get it into foreclosure. You might be able to buy that house really cheaply. Look for houses on the edge.
Yeah, I think that's like another thing too, is like, it's not just like he's saying, like it's the same thing like as buying the car. Like you need to think smart about, like, it's your money. Like, you deserve the most out of that money. But the thing is like, people aren't just going to give you the most for the money. You have to look for it, and you have to wait for it, and you have to know what it looks like to be able to get the most out of your money. And I think some people don't realize that, like, truly rich people who really have money, like, they're doing this their whole life. It's not like, you know, like, they're not just going and buying brand new Versace. Like, he said he bought a Viper, but then he realized that was a bad mistake. And, like, clearly he's way more rich than any of us. So, like, if he's saying it was a mistake for him to buy a Viper, like, that's what he's saying, is, like, you can do these things, but, like, what are you giving up long haul to have, like, this fancy brand new car, to have this brand new house? Like, yes, it's great that they're new, that's cool, fresh, but, like, they're going to be top dollar, which is not going to give you the best for your dollar. You're going to get top dollar for it, you know? So I just think no matter what, that's probably going to be the basis for everything he brings up, I feel like, at this point.
Of a really improving neighborhood. Those houses in a few years are going to be in the middle of a great neighborhood. Look for homes that are on the edge of something that's getting better. Go find yourself something on sale. Now, third, spending too much going out. Oh, we all do this. Although paying for a house and a car.
I'm going to write this down, but this is a really complicated, like, we'll see what he says. I might cross it off. I don't like it where we're going so far, though. Well, you gotta be patient, you know, when you're learning. You gotta kind of allow ideas to come in even if you're not certain about them. Okay, let's see what he says.
Those are the biggest hits to monthly income. You would be shocked by the effect the littler expenses can have. Dining out, right? Restaurants used to mean, you know, go down to the cheap pizza joint on the corner when you're a student, right? Or run over to Chipotle. So now that you have more discretionary income, you're thinking about stepping it up a little. But it doesn't mean you have to or that you should. Okay, right. Everybody wants a little entertainment now and then.
Okay.
But you should still budget for it. Give yourself a little room to spend on the things you really want to.
That's what he's saying. You should still, like, you should make your food budget as small as you can, in the sense that, like, if you're gonna go out, you should plan to go out to, like, cheaper areas, right? And that if you want to eat better, that you need to have that planned and how much you're going to spend. That makes sense to me.
That's great, but keep it under control. And you'll enjoy going out and doing that thing you really want to do, all the more for the effort to keep it in your budget. Some people I know just put the money for the restaurants into an envelope at the beginning of the month, take it right out of the bank, and when that envelope's empty, they're done going out. Next.
That's smart. I've seen people use the envelope thing. I did it for a little while. The only problem is that for me, it wasn't just like taking the money out and putting it in the envelope and only using that money, because I would never just use that money. And then, like, I had trouble tracking it. So it's easier for me to pay attention to online bank stuff. I think as long as you know your number, you're writing it down, you're keeping track of it somehow, that's what's important.
Having an expensive significant other. Believe me.
Okay. It's funny he's bringing this up, because this is mostly a male-dominated problem than it is a female-dominated problem. Unless, of course, you're gay, and that's different. But, like, in the straight world, this problem, having an expensive significant other, is mostly for the men. Because, it is socially normative for men to buy the meals and to pay for going out. And so that can be detrimental based on the type of woman that you're trying to date. For women, I know that I've heard of circumstances where, like, they pay, like, for the men's stuff, and I have been in circumstances where, like, I've fully paid, like, for trips and things like that, and felt comfortable doing so. So I don't know. like, I guess it could be for both, but I really do feel like it's mostly for men in this situation. So I want to write it down, but I want to write it down like a little bit differently. I also want to hear what he's going to say, but I think I might listen to him before I decide what I'm going to write down as this fourth one of like. I feel because like friends can do that too, you know. It's not just significant like others as like in your partner, your wife, husband, da 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 da. Like your friends could do that too. It could be one of those things where like, you know, they're like, oh, do you want to go to breakfast? And you're like, yeah. And then they're like, I got you for breakfast. And then they're like, do you want to go for drinks? And you're like, yeah. And you like go for drinks, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, you were like, oh, you bought me a breakfast, I'll get you a drink. And then you're drinking, and you're getting more drinks, and you spend $100. So, I kind of, you know what I mean? Like, I want to write this in a form in which that, like, be careful with how you share your money, because I also think you can do this in a sense of, like, giving away, like, to homeless, if you are somebody who gives cash to people or buys stuff for them. Like, I think that would also sit in that category, like being careful where you hand out your money or what you're giving gifts and stuff for. Yeah, Popeyes, Applebee's, and it's easy, really easy now, because like it's like right there. Most people have access to Grubhub, so they don't even have to leave their place. Like, you know what I mean? It's so easy. It's so easy to get caught up spending like little extras here and there. Okay, let's see what he says.
I've had it both ways. So even if you are, and right now I'm married to the most magnificent person on the planet, so I have been in the other place. So it's not fun. Even if you're master of your own money, other people may have a habit of getting in the way of your financial plans in a big, powerful way. Failing to communicate about how you're working your spending habits with your significant other is a major cause of relationship trouble for married couples and committed couples. So if you're dating or you're just getting into a long-term relationship, take the advice here from Uncle Phil, all right? It is very tempting to blow up your budget with gifts and entertainment and travel, and what happens is you start to convince this significant person in your life that that's your lifestyle. So then you'll be really surprised, huh? If you get married to them and that ain't your lifestyle, you're back to the pizza parlor, that could create problems. So don't let too many weekend getaways take away your ability to demonstrate who you really are going to be in your future. Guys, you know you do this.
He
So
even
make
said
your
guys.
expectations
He
really clear from the
knows.
start. Live your lifestyle with the person you expect to live your lifestyle with. And don't fake it, you bunch of fakers. And you're going to avoid a lot of fights over money.
He said, you bunch of fakers. He attacked. Okay. I'm gonna say, don't allow others to have a hand in your cookie jar. Don't. Okay. Let's see. It's almost over.
Years to come. Fifth.
Fifth? Wait. Oh, there's six. There's six. Wait, did I miss one? Oh no, we're doing fifth now. Okay.
Paying a fortune in credit card bills.
The FBI's coming back, apparently. Jeez. Hope everything's okay.
There's no reason to do that. That's the reason so many people think credit card debt is the worst debt ever. That's because it is. And so many people are stuck in it. Credit cards are definitely easy to access these days, even if you don't have a solid income or good credit. They love to have you jump in there, you subprime borrowers. This means that you might have a few monsters
Subprime
looking in your wallet from your
borrowing.
college days with interest rates higher.
Yeah, that sounds crazy. Okay, so he's saying no credit card debt. That means if you were using a credit card, it needs to be one of those things where you're paying it off the moment something goes through there. You are only using it essentially to protect your money and to have, like, insurance on it in case somebody tries to take your monies. Money.
Than you can get with really good investing. Don't do that. Every time you spend money on a credit card and you don't pay it back at the end of the grace period, you are paying with your investment capital for the convenience of spending money. It can be very tempting to open a new credit card once you've maxed the other ones out. I have done this, and all the while,
don't do that.
your budget gets eaten up with interest payments. It's a dangerous game. You better not play it. There's an easy way to stop the cycle. Just keep your budget less than your income, and stick to it. And don't open new credit cards.
That's really hard. It's actually really hard to stay to it.
Not investing. Huge mistake.
6.
Although some people are putting a lot of emphasis.
Yeah, you should be investing by the time you're in your 30s, at least. Truthfully. I'm gonna say, please invest. Okay. What else does he say?
This is on short-term investment gains. Getting to your goal of financial freedom is not a sprint, it's a marathon. The earlier
That
you
is true.
start, the more you can accumulate.
It's
so
true.
Beginning investments and beginning with planning for financial freedom is all about the balance between paying your expenses, eliminating current debts, and always setting aside money that can help you get to your goal of having the life you want. Life moves really, really fast, and you do not want
That's
to lose
true.
track of your opportunities. You're going to have many of them, and investing now gives you decades to pick up skills and confidence and watch your money grow. You've got to get to it as early as you can in your 30s.
Yeah.
Man, I'll tell you what I would do, doing it over again, and actually I did pretty good the first time around. Keep the belt really tight. Always pay yourself 10% of your income first and live on the rest of it, including taxes. 10%.
Oh, wow. 10. That was interesting. I'm going to write that down as like a little note. Live on 10% of your income. You know what's interesting though about that is that, like, clearly not everyone can do that, because clearly some people 10% of their living would mean that they wouldn't have enough to live on, because they don't have enough to live on now. But that's not what I'm trying to say. Is that's how you know how far removed he is from where some other people are at, which is why I think, like, it's really great that they, like, communicate this kind of stuff, but, like, there really needs to be, like, if I was him, I would have people that I was teaching who were working on doing it and in the middle of, like, taking the steps, like, doing these videos truthfully, because once you become so successful, it's so noticeable from an unsuccessful person's, like, perspective when it comes to finances, that they're not quite knowing and understanding where we're at. Moments being about the fact that he doesn't really understand 5 years ago now, right, that most people these days are probably not owning their cars to maintain them for a long period of time, and that if you buy an older car of 3 to 5 years, that it's possible it could be complete trash and not worth any price. And then him saying that living on your 10% of your income, clearly a lot of people can't do that. Like, 10% of their income would mean they'd be homeless and starving, so. Why would you throw a party for the whole amount of your first? You should at least budget. You should at least budget taxes and savings out of it. Yeah. Because, like, the one thing you need to do is be prepared for your future, and that's how you do that. Is you save a little bit of money for taxes, just in case, and for investing, or for saving for yourself, and then the rest of it you can do whatever you want with. Yeah, you want to know what I did with my very first check? I saved all of it but $200 so I could eat. And then, here's the lesson in this. This is why I'm going to be saying this. And then my mom went to jail, and my parents couldn't bring together enough money to get her out of jail. And so I took that first amount that I saved, which was my whole check except for $200, and then multiple months after that, because this was months after my first one, I gave that money to them so they could get her out, and I never saw that money again. So, as much as I am going to say you should still save some of it, right? Like, I saved a lot of mine, and it could have done really good, but I didn't have a plan for it. So, that's why I'm saying, I'm not even saying, like, all of your check or the majority. I'm just saying some of it, a piece of it, because it's good practice, and it's literally your first one. This is how you're going to maintain the rest of your life. Would you like to spend the rest of your life spending every single paycheck, all of the paycheck on doing just fun stuff, and then eventually not having anything for your future when you can't work? What if no one's there to take care of you? You're going to need something to, and it's going to be the money that you decided to save and put away. That you did, starting your first one. Honestly, you can do whatever you want with it, but, like, I'm not going to encourage you to spend your money on a party, especially your first one. I know that, like, you're, like, super excited, and I love that for you, because, like, I know how that feels, but, like, you gotta plan a little bit, because, like, even I saved, I had no plan, and look, it's gone. That's how it works. So not only do you need to save it, but, like, there needs to be a plan for it. Go look up floopin', what are they called? Index funds. See if you can find an index fund that's really good. Gives you 15 to 20% back. I bet it would. I bet you could. But it'd be super easy. I bet you could go on ChatGPT and ask for the best index funds to invest in. Take whatever money you save and throw it in there. Just saying. I know it's hard. I know it's not fun. But when you're older and you have $1 million in your investment funds and you're not worrying about having to retire or what that looks like and you're 40 years old, you will thank somebody. I don't know if it's going to be me, but you will thank somebody. I wish I would have had a few more people who really cared about my financial future. I had a couple people who cared enough to say something to me, but that was it. That was it. An offer of a book and a few words of saying, this is what's best for you. But they didn't do it. They didn't do it. So I was like, well, then it doesn't matter, does it? But it did. It did, and I wish I would have listened. I really wish I would have listened. I really do. Okay, let's finish this.
Every single paycheck goes into your investing portfolio. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you fallen for any of these money traps and regretted it? Okay, yeah. So leave a comment below with your answer.
Okay. That was very good. I like that. Yeah, I'll leave that link down below. Got some good notes out of it, which is great. Okay. I think the next thing we were going to look at was Treasury bonds. Let's see if we can find a video to help us fully understand treasury bonds. The basics of investing in bonds. That looks sponsored. Bonds 101. Detailed explanation for beginners. 12 minutes. Not too bad. This one's 4 minutes. That's a little nicer. This one's 10 months ago. That's 3 years ago. Let's go with 10 months, 4 minutes. I think that's a good choice here.
Bonds are a common investment. However, to many investors, they remain a mystery. So let's explore what a bond is and how it might benefit your investment portfolio.
I like this. Yeah, let's do it.
A bond is a loan given to a company or government by an investor. By issuing a bond, a company or government borrows money from investors, who in return are paid interest on the money they've loaned.
Like 4%, but still, yeah.
Companies and governments issue bonds
Which you can get
to
in
fund new projects
a
or
bank.
ongoing expenses. Some investors use bonds in hopes of preserving the money they have while also generating additional income.
In hopes.
Bonds
In
are
hopes.
often viewed as a less risky alternative to stocks and are sometimes used to diversify a portfolio. Consider this example.
I think that's an interesting thing that we should also look into is diversifying portfolio, because I kind of understand what it means, the basic, right? But like I've heard some contradicting information, so it's definitely something I want to understand more. So we're gonna say research. What was it? What was it called?
And are sometimes used to diversify a portfolio.
Diversify research about diversifying portfolios. Okay.
Consider this example. The hypothetical city of Fairview wants to build a new baseball stadium, so it decides to issue bonds to raise money. Each bond is a loan for $1,000, which Fairview promises to pay back in 10 years. To make this loan more attractive to investors, Fairview agrees to pay an annual interest rate of 2%, which in the bond world is also known as a coupon rate. An investor buys the bond at face value for $1,000. Now, let's fast forward. Each year, the city of Fairview pays the investor $20. These regular interest payments continue for the length of the bond, which is 10 years. Once the bond reaches maturity, the investor redeems his bond and Fairview returns his $1,000 principal investment. This bond was a good deal for both the city and our investor.
Okay, was it though? Because $20 for 10 years is $200. I can make $200 really fast. It's not hard to make $200. Not if you know how. So, like, my question is, what is good out of that for the person who bought the loan? Or the bond? I don't understand that. Interesting. Very interesting. 2%. They suggest 2%. See, this is why I'm like, I don't know, but bonds don't really sound that hyped for me. Even if I wanted to diversify my folder, why would I diversify my folder into something that's not going to make me as much money? Give me tax advantages? What am I getting from diversifying into this? That's my concern. I don't understand. Because I was really excited about them when I first heard them. I was like, oh, it's super easy. That sounds so nice. But then, like, it's the same as a savings account, but, like, I don't get access to my money. Like, if you have a really hard time, like, not taking out pennies from your savings, maybe bonds would be better. That's the only thing I could think of.
the money it needed to build a stadium. The investor received regular interest payments and the return of the original investment. Because a bond offers regularly scheduled payments and the return of invested principal, bonds are often viewed as a more predictable and stable form of investing.
Often
Compare
viewed?
regular payments of a bond to the experience
But
of
are
owning
they?
a stock.
That's the thing. Like, a lot of this language sometimes, when I'm listening to these things, I get really particular because, like, I try not to do this when I'm talking to other people. Because I don't always talk to people very particularly, you know? But when you're making a video about bonds, right? And you say something like, mostly viewed? Who is mostly viewing them like this? The public? Are they like that? That's what I want to know. Where's the proof? You know? Are you using statistics? Did you Google this? Like, I need to know. They don't have any resource links. A very good introduction of bonds. Thank you for bringing this back. It's very useful. Short and to the point. This lady has the perfect voice for this. Knowledge supports growth. I don't know, guys. Let's just finish this.
With stocks, profits and losses are driven by market forces and are generally less predictable. Of course, like any investment, bonds are not without risk. One risk that bond investors face is the possibility that the issuer defaults on paying back the principal. This is what is known as default risk. Typically, bonds with higher default risk also come with higher rates of return, also known as yield. The amount of risk depends mostly on the financial stability of the issuer. For example, many governments are generally considered stable issuers and issue bonds with a...
And now I understand why it's not a good thing to see bonds going up right now, because it means they're trying to give more higher yields without being very stable. Because the only reason they'd want to do that is try to encourage people to buy more bonds. So that way they'd have more money to work with. Because people aren't either putting money in, or they're putting money in not where they want it to go, so they can't use it for some reason. But at the same time, they're not producing the extra money, so like it's super unstable and unlikely that you're going to get your money back. Interesting. Okay.
Relatively low yield. Corporate bonds typically represent a greater risk of default. That's why corporate bonds often offer a higher coupon rate. Several credit rating agencies assign ratings to different bonds. This can help bond investors gauge the financial strength of the bond issuer. These rating agencies often use different criteria for measuring risk, so it's a good idea to compare ratings when considering a particular bond.
So you should only get like an A plus, AA, like A minus bond then. Don't get anything. Because like I'm guessing once you get past the A's, there's no guarantee you're going to get your money. It's a 50-50, maybe 75-25% chance.
Rating agencies aren't always accurate.
That's a guess, by the way. I don't have, that's not, it's just like me collectively with all the information I've gathered in my head, plus like this coming to it, like that's what I see from the world.
So be sure to research your bond and its risks thoroughly before investing. Another risk to consider is interest rate risk. This is the risk that interest rates will go up, and any bonds you own will be worth less if sold before their maturity date. After all, when interest rates rise, more investors allocate their money into the new, higher interest rate bonds. If you wanted to unload a low interest rate bond to take advantage of these new rates, you'd have to sell your bond at a lower price than what you bought it at to make it a worthwhile purchase for another investor. Capital preservation and income generation are just two ways bonds might be parked.
But then at some point your bond has to come up in, right? Like it comes to the end of the year and you got to sell no matter what, right?
Of a diversified portfolio. Many investors use a mix of stocks and bonds to pursue their investment goals. And because bond...
What would you be getting in your investment goals to do, like she's about to say, like in bonds, but I don't understand.
Bonds move differently from stocks. They can help increase or protect portfolio returns. Keep in mind that this discussion showed you one simplified way that investors...
But like, if you're getting barely 2% in your bonds anyways, you may as well just throw it into a 4% savings account, or a 6% or an 8% savings account, because those exist, and you could for sure, without any risk, get that money. I don't get what the point of bonds is. If we have savings accounts that are higher than 4%, I don't understand why you would diversify into them. If someone sees this and you can tell me, please tell me. Put in the descriptions. Comment videos for me to watch. I will watch them. But I'm not connecting what the point is.
Just might use bonds, and only a few of the risks to consider. Like all investments, bonds are complex and have a variety of uses and risks. Before you invest in bonds, it's important that you invest in your own financial education.
What? What was the ending to that video? I'm gonna link it. You guys can do your own stuff on it. You know what? We're coming up to that second hour, and I'm feeling researched out. Okay, so let's close this YouTube video. I'm going to do a little ending here, and then we're going to move on to our next thing. Okay. Let's do the YouTube ending. Thanks so much. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. What are some videos that you watched that you find interesting that you would like for me to watch? Put them down below. And until next time, I'll see you later. Bye!